Welcome to the deep dive. You know, diesel just hit $7.60 a gallon in California, and it is completely rewiring how carriers treat your routing guides.
Yeah, it really is.
Today, we're looking at a fresh stack of logistics managers' index data, sonar market maps, and the latest Norfolk Southern earnings. And our mission today is to just have an operator-to-operator chat about what is actually happening in the freight environment this week, because we aren't just seeing tightening. The actual timing of these disruptions has fundamentally changed.
Right. The traditional warning track is just gone. Usually, you see a capacity storm on the radar, you adjust your lead times and you prep. But right now, loads are falling out literally just hours before pickup.
Which is incredibly stressful for operations.
Oh, absolutely. Carriers are becoming hyper-selective, and it's instantly creating these massive execution problems for teams who, well, they're used to having a 48-hour buffer to recover.
And that ties directly into the LMI data we're looking at, because inventory levels are incredibly lean right now. Operating a supply chain like this is exactly like driving a car with zero shock absorbers.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. You hit a tiny pothole and the entire chassis takes the hit. Because there's no inventory buffer in the system, a single missed pickup downstream instantly creates a major service failure right on the shelf.
Exactly. And the root cause of all that fragility right now is fuel. You've got geopolitical tensions, especially around the Strait of Hormuz, keeping fuel prices at this steady, suffocating high. I mean, you mentioned that 760 diesel in California.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is. And that pressure forces carriers into pure survival mode. They are building their weekly networks exclusively around high-efficiency, predictable moves just to manage those margins.
Wait, so what does this actually look like on the dock? Are carriers just ghosting facilities, or are we simply seeing, standard routing guide deterioration because brokers are underbidding?
Well, it is absolutely an efficiency and fuel constraint, not just cheap rates. It shows up as missed pickups and last-minute scrambles, especially at facilities with historically long load times or, rigid appointments.
Wow.
Yeah, look at the Norfolk Southern earnings from our sources. Their intermodal volumes reflect shippers desperately trying to find alternative routing to escape those high truckload fuel surcharges. But even on the rail side, network efficiency is paramount. Large carriers and rail operators are signaling that they cannot afford to absorb operational delays.
Because if a truck burns expensive diesel idling at a dock for 4 hours, that load is a total loss.
Exactly. So carriers are actively bypassing those slow facilities, prioritizing docks that turn trucks faster.
And because carriers are so hypersensitive to fuel costs right now, they aren't just abandoning inefficient individual docks, they are avoiding entire regions. Looking at the Sonar Van and Reefer maps, we're seeing massive localized tightening concentrated specifically in the Midwest and the Southeast.
Right. And the mechanics of why that happens is just crucial for planning. Take a market like Fayetteville right now. Major inbound volume for big retailers is sucking capacity into that specific area.
Like a gravity well.
Yeah, exactly. Normally, trucks might deadhead to an adjacent market once they empty out, but at these fuel prices, deadheading 50 or 100 empty miles completely destroys a carrier's margin.
So they just get trapped there.
They do. They get trapped in that Fayetteville gravity well, refusing to bounce out, which leaves neighboring lanes totally exposed with zero capacity.
And right on schedule, produce season is kicking off, which means massive volumes of temperature-controlled freight are suddenly fighting for that exact same reliable carrier pool in the Southeast.
Which just pours gasoline on an already tight market.
Right.
You have reefer capacity getting locked up by high-volume produce shippers, which then bleeds over into the dry van market as desperate shippers scramble to find any available wheels. So your reliable routing guides in the Southeast are practically fiction this week.
So what's the takeaway here for the operations teams listening?
Well, there is still time to adjust, but that window is narrowing fast. Decisions you make right now about facility performance, lead times, and how freight is planned will completely dictate your stability over the next few weeks.
You essentially have to be the shipper of choice, or you simply don't ship. Which leaves us with a final question for you to chew on. As these crushing fuel costs inevitably bankrupt smaller owner-operators over the coming months, will the surviving mega carriers soon have the leverage to permanently dictate operating hours and scheduling rules to shippers?
That is definitely something to worry about.
It really is. Something to think about the next time a truck ghosts your dock. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.